What's up guys, Rogue9 here, and during my trip to Malmo to visit the massive game studios, I had the pleasure of sitting down for a chat with the game director for The Division 2, Mathias Karlson. So let's see what the main man himself has to say about The Division 2 and how it builds upon the lessons learned from the first game. So tell us a little bit about the setting of The Division 2 and how it differs from The Division 1.
Absolutely, it's similar in the sense that it's a very recognizable, very iconic real-life location, right? Manhattan is a fantastic, iconic setting of the Division 1. We're taking you to Washington, D.C. in the Division 2, and there are many reasons for this. Not just because it's an iconic place, but also it's a place full of contrast. So we can do a lot with the variety of environments that we get out of DC, where we have almost jungle-like, lush nature in Roosevelt Island, and wherever nature grows, it's like trying to claw its way back, right? To the wide open spaces of the mall, with its big monuments and narrow streets of Georgetown, and like there's so much in there that's really enjoyable as a player, not just visually, but also it plays different, right? The shooter aspects of the game are fundamentally different in wide open, long sightlines compared to narrow street streets.
When it comes to recreating a real-world location like this, how do you go about building a well-known city in a game? How do you recreate the general layout, and what about specific landmarks?
There's several aspects of it. We do, of course, a lot of research trips. We go to the place where we're going to build with not just artists but with level designers, different people from across the team, right? To really get a sense of the place, take references and all that. But we also, I think, something that's really cool in Snowdrop, we're building our own in-house engine here at Massive for the Division and the Division 2, where in the Division 2 we've been able to use what's called GIS data and LiDAR data, which is the same type of data sets used for GPS devices, Google Maps and such. So we can just generate the basic footprint of DC. So we get a true one-to-one reference to start building on top of, and adding all these layers of transformation that DC in the Division 2 is after 7 months of chaos from the events in New York.
The overarching mission for the Division agents in the first game was to track down the source of the virus and to try to find a cure. What will be the overarching mission for the players in the Division 2?
The virus that was released in New York, it spread outside of New York. It wasn't contained, so it spread all over the rest of the United States and ultimately into the rest of the world. So we have countless dead globally at this point. So, however, right, the virus it's not completely gone, but it has run its course in a way, so it's not the clear and present danger anymore. So the people that are still around, they are survivors. Everyone wasn't hit by the virus. Some people they have natural resistances and all that. So the Division 2 really starts with you getting kind of a distress call, a reason for Division agents to converge on DC. So you're coming in from the outside. You're stepping in really into the great unknown, and faced with a city that is utterly transformed, where enemy factions are roaming the streets, civilians have banded together in these elements trying to survive and fend for themselves, and ultimately you're there to what Division agents do, to stop collapse and start helping to rebuild, not least by helping the civilian population.
What can you tell us about the people and groups we will encounter as players in the Division 2? Is there any specific info you can give us at this stage about the different factions that we can expect?
I can't go into detail on all of them, yeah. but we have seen the True Sons, which is this kind of paramilitary group run by a warlord type that they're really trying to exert power dominance and rule and control over everybody else, and they're not shy to use extreme force and violence. There will be other factions, enemy factions in the city, but importantly in the Division 2, also civilian-friendly factions, which is a big part of what you're doing in the game. You're coming in from the outside, where civilians in DC, they've banded together in settlements out in the open world, trying to rebuild, trying to get a new normal, right? And they will also be out and about in the world together with the enemy factions, generating a lot of dynamic movement and ultimately activity for you as a player. So that's really cool.
Of course, there will be more of the Dark Zone, but also dedicated multiplayer. Can you give us a bit more of an insight into the PvP elements of the game?
Absolutely. We've done a lot on that front, and all of it coming on day one for release. So on the Dark Zone side, we took a long hard look, of course, at the Dark Zone that we released on day one with the Division and how it's transformed and evolved and refined itself over the years of post-launch and all the dialogue we had with the community and looking at the game, what's working and not. So there we really tried to make sure that we offer a more accessible, fair, more even playing field for players in general in the Dark Zone through means like having normalization in the default Dark Zone play. That we extended the rogue loops, not just up to manhunt, but also down to rogue actions that doesn't necessarily involve engaging another player and killing them, but theft and opportunism and being greedy and really making it wider and more accessible for people in general. But we do know that a lot of people love that raw, almost anarchy of the original Dark Zone. That's why we're doing the occupied Dark Zone. Absolutely no normalization. Friendly fire is always on. It's really that lawless land, where what will you do when no one's looking? The tenseness of the original Dark Zone. Then, of course, I should say though, important note, there are 3 of them this time, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not just one big Dark Zone in the middle, it's actually 3 different Dark Zones that give a lot of contrast and variety in the same sense that I was talking about DC, but it also enables us to run something like the occupied Dark Zones in parallel with the default Dark Zone experience at any given moment. So one of them would randomly be occupied, whereas the other 2 are then with the normal rule set. Then, conflict. The organized PvP, 4v4. We're going to release with 2 modes, skirmish, which is team deathmatch, and domination, point capture, on 3 different completely unique, bespoke built PvP maps at launch. And then, of course, in post-launch, we'll continue to build on top of all these things.
When it comes to the endgame content, how has that evolved since the launch of the original Division? I know that we will dive deeper into this topic at a later date, but what can you tell us right now about how this part of the game will shape up in the Division 2?
It's really one of our key focus areas for this game is to have a really rich, meaning wide and deep endgame there for everyone at launch. So it ranges from introducing specializations, for you, something for your character in terms of specialty choice and additional very concrete progression at the start of endgame, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go with the sharpshooter. It all begins with you getting a signature weapon, and then you have an actual full progression tree of additional unlocks, like variations for your skills, talents, and such, all to progress in endgame. You can build all of these free specializations all the way to 100% and have full freedom to switch between them, right? We're completely revamping and putting a lot of new love into the tier. Almost like a mini campaign starting at endgame. Some surprises in there that I can't share yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
But we're super excited about it. The raid, 8-man raids in the Division is brand new and something we're really looking forward to releasing in the wild. It's been a fun development process to really think how can we use the game and all of its mechanics to challenge a group of 8 to figure out how to beat this thing. There's so much put in place. As I said, the Dark Zone, occupied Dark Zones, they come online at the start of Endgame, and you're gonna see, a fresh take on the Dark Zone at the start of Endgame, meaning new things happening in the Dark Zone, not just the different presets going on.
Can we also expect to see some of the weekly club challenges that have become a cornerstone of most Ubisoft releases nowadays?
You will have, similar to the first game, a lot of cadenced things to do, meaning like things to do daily, things to do on a weekly basis. We're going to be running events. The post-launch plan, as you know, we announced is very rich and completely free for everyone. It's very important for us to not split the community between paying and non-paying players in that sense. So we're going to be releasing a lot of updates, 3 big episodes in the first year with adding new content, new activities, new awards, of course, free for everyone.
And there you have it. I do hope that some of these questions touched on topics that are of interest to you. I may actually have another chance to chat to either Mathias or someone else from the Division 2 team soon, so if you have any questions that you would like me to ask, leave them in the comments section below. And with that, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next episode.